Good morning, everyone. I am Usha Pawnee, working in the Department of Computer Science and Application from SRN BGNR, Government Arts and Science College, Autonomous Khammam. Today, I am going to deal about my next topic, that is types of big data analytics. In my past video, I already discussed about what is big data and the challenges we have with the big data and what are the places where we will use our big data. Today I'm going in depth about types of big data analytics. Before going with that, just simply I revise the definition of what is big data. Big data refers to a huge volume of data that cannot be stored and processed using the traditional computing approach within a given time frame. By that, you can simply understand that big data is a huge volume of data and it cannot be stored permanently into a one system and it cannot be processed easily as we don't go with any traditional way of method while we go with the big data. And coming to the types of big data analytics, it comprises of unstructured data, structured data, and semi-structured data. We'll look into in depth about each and every types. Before going with that, we'll see a glance about each and every one where we have these three types of digital data. Coming to structured data, whatever it may be, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, everything is nothing but our data only, but they are internally divided into three types depending on the way they stored into the systems. First, we are going with the structured data where we have databases, data warehouses, enterprise systems, CRM, ERP, etc. These are all the basic way what we are generally going in our traditional system, nothing but structured data. Coming to unstructured data, nothing but analog data, GPS tracking information, audio or video stream. This comes under unstructured data. Where we go with the semi-structure, here it comprises of XML, email, EDL. These are the types of data that we see in our types of digital data. Coming into the depth about each and every topic, here we see first is the structured data. In structured data, it refers to any data that resides in a fixed field within a record or a file. It supports ACID properties. Structured data has the advantage of being easily entered, stored, queried, and analyzed. Structured data represents only 5 to 10% of all informatic data. You see that simply structured data is the data that we store into the tables. Basically, we are familiar with our traditional way of data storing, nothing but our databases, data warehouses. These are all the best examples where we use our structured data, where we entered our data easily, stored data. We can do querying, we can do analyzing, whatever we want, we can do with that. But one thing that we can't store huge amount of data in structured data. That was the main drawback with structured data. Where come unstructured data? Unstructured data is all those things that cannot be so readily classified and fit into a neat box. Unstructured data represent 80% of data. Techniques, data mining, comprise of association rule, regression analysis, text mining, NLP, etc. All these comprise of unstructured data. Means here in unstructured data, we represent huge amount of data, but which cannot be structured in a specific format. We can have analysis process in this data. Coming to semi-structured data, semi-structured data is a cross between the two. It is a type of structured data but lacks the strike data model structure. Semi-structured data is information that does not reside in a relational database but that does not have some organizational properties that make it easier to analyze. Means when we have combine the structured and unstructured data, it is nothing but semi-structured data. But there is a slight line between these two that strikes both the data models. And these two data models combinedly use both the information to the users. Means we never we want to store our data in the structured format, we can store in structured format. And whenever we want to go with unstructured format, we can store into the unstructured format. This is how a semi-structured data will be. Today I am going to sign off with our types of big data analytics, and I'll come up with a new topic in my next video. Thank you so much.